Welcome back into Wave Listens Live. I'm Michael Vanover, joined now by Dr. Charmain Jackman, coming from Boston, Massachusetts. Dr. Jackman, how are you?
Doing wonderful. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for being here today. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so many things about mental health have been in the news recently, for years really. Let's talk about just how important May is for Mental Health Awareness Month and some of the things that are happening for it.
Absolutely. So, some of the things that I'd like to highlight for May in Mental Health Awareness Month is one, that our mental health is just as important as our physical health. The other point is, we know there's a lot of stigma around mental health and well-being, and I just love to get out to people that there are lots of resources out there that you can tap into. We all have mental health. There's a range from unhealthy to healthy, and there are things that we can do every day to really take care of our mental health and well-being. And finally, when we think about youth mental health, particularly in this current context where we have a young people's mental health crisis, a youth mental health crisis, it's so important to empower parents and caregivers with the tools to really engage in open and honest conversations with their children about their mental health and well-being.
Dr. Jackman, you touched on the youth, obviously. If you look at the last, I guess, 10 or 11 years, looking at 2011 to 21, it's been dramatically alarming at some of the data that's come back for preteens and teens. Can you talk about just what's happening and maybe some of the ways that we can really help make these teens and preteens feel more comfortable and happier?
Absolutely. So, you're referencing a report that was recently published by the CDC, where we saw increases in depression, anxiety, and even suicide and suicide ideation for young children and adolescents. And, I've worked in high schools for over 17 years, and really have seen this trend come in even before COVID. But I would say that the COVID pandemic has really been a significant stressor, because it took children and adolescents out of their daily routine. When we think about middle schoolers and high schoolers connecting with friends, that's kind of one of their main things, right? They're moving away from parents and doing more connections with friends. They're involved in lots of activities outside of the school, whether it's sports or theater or music, whatever those activities are. And they were ripped out of those networks, out of those natural ways of coping and managing stress, into a very different, disconnected environment. And so as we move out of COVID and the pandemic, we're seeing all the remnants of what the toll that took on our young people.
You talk about COVID and obviously spending a lot of time at home and not doing those activities that you mentioned. Parenting has always been important, but parenting through, those adolescent years, especially what's gone on in this country and around the world with COVID, is more important than ever. Talk about some of the tips of the parents that are watching right now, some things that they could do to make sure their child is okay.
Absolutely. And I want to share three things that, as a parent and caregiver, you can think about. One, you can start early. Start it early. Talking to your children about their feelings, about their emotions is a great skill that they can use as young as babies, I say, out the womb and into adulthood. So letting people know, letting your children know they can express their emotions, helping them figure out how to name their emotions, how to tell you when things are not going well for them. So one of the things I recommend is, when you see them every day, check in, what are some highlights for your day? What are some lowlights? Really giving them the space to talk about things that went well and things that didn't go well. The second tip is, as a parent, you may hear your children may tell you things that are uncomfortable, or that may be a little triggering for you, or go against your own family values. It is so important as a parent or caregiver, when you have your child talking, when they've moved out of the awkward stage and they're actually talking with you, to really listen, and listen without judgment. And so that gives them the space to share anything that's on their mind. When you jump in and overreact or tell them how they should be thinking or what they should be doing, they shut down. They don't trust you, and they're not going to bring those really difficult topics to you. Sure. And then the third thing is...
Sorry, Dr. Jackman, go ahead.
No worries. The third thing is, as a parent, you also need to take care of your own mental health and well-being. You need to be the model. So making sure that you're practicing what you want them to follow.
And there's a national Sound It Out campaign going on. If people want to find information about that, it's at sounditouttogether.org. So it's another amazing thing that's going on to really, really help this mental health crisis in this country. Dr. Jackman, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. For more information, make sure you can visit drcharmainjackman.com. All right, when we come back, we've got a lot more to get to on Wave Listens Live. Stay with us.